Welcome back to the Compressor Guru. Today, the Guru finishes up the valves for the 325 that goes to the customer, and he is on a deadline. Today's special guest camera operator is Eric, the electric guru, and today's camera guy. Now here is the Compressor Guru.
So we're back at the table, and I'm going to clue you into something. What's better than the Compressor Guru running the camera? Anything. Now, of course, we know the camera wife has a following, but today we got Eric, the electrical guru, working as cameraman tonight because we are swamped. The camera wife is swamped. I'm swamped. And he was sitting around watching TV. So...
Go Pens.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you. This is a discharge valve. We're going to spin it apart. I cleaned it up. And believe it or not, that's good enough. Our new style spring, what we're putting it in, as opposed to the old style spring that was in it. The new style spring, as opposed to the old style spring, is what we're going to put back in it, and that's gone. So drop that in there. Whether you have a record of change 1 or whether you have a record of change 105, these valves take the exact same valve disc, whether you have an antique or you have a brand new machine. Now, to get these in, you just make sure that valve disc goes between there, and then we run the screw all the way up. And we take our knife and make sure it operates. And it's not bound up, it operates. And now we're going to make a mess. We're going to add a little fluid to the cavity on the bottom of the valve. And we're going to watch it. And that valve is not leaking. Remember, one of our discharge valves was leaking, one was not. This one is not leaking. So this valve is ready to be tightened up and installed in the head. I'm going to dump the fuel out of this. And this may say compressor oil, but it's diesel fuel. It was a perfectly clean can. You can check them with gasoline. Gasoline works well. Diesel fuel works well. That one's ready to go be tightened. We got another one here. And we are not leaking. Remember, only one of the exhaust valves would hold fuel when we were taking them apart and checking them. I really think it was that old spring not having good pressure up against that valve plate. We'll watch that for a second and then we'll go back to the vise. I'm happy. Are you happy?
I was born happy.
Okay. You can tell that's Val's brother. Now, here's a pro tip. The other day when we tore these apart, we knocked the intakes apart first, and then we knocked the discharge valves apart. And I didn't put anything in the vise since then, and we're all set just to put those right in the studs and tighten her up. So the illusion of intelligence is simply thinking ahead.
I'm not paying you for that.
Okay. So, Eric, would you like to explain why you're not paying me?
When my sons were wee youngsters, Uncle Guru gave them a saying to repeat, and if he asked and they repeated it, he would cough up a buck just to make sure they remembered important life lessons. This is one of the important life lessons.
And what happened if they were wrong?
They had to pay
A quarter.
a quarter.
So they made money on the uncle, but they learned things too. And we had new phrases every so often. Anyway, these are tight. These are ready to go in. We're going to work on the suction valves next. So now we're to the intake side. Spring, same valve disc. But this one's a little tougher to get together. We spin it together. Now we don't have a bolt that slides down through. So we spin it up pretty close, and then we grab either a real thin screwdriver. You can see the valve disc right there. So we grab either a real thin screwdriver, and we just keep working it around till we spin shut. And that's together. Now we find our little screwdriver, and we make sure it's not bound up. Not bound up. Not bound up. Now, I'm going to turn that so you can see we're looking right down in to that cavity right there. And this isn't as easy to fill as the discharge valves were. The discharge valves are upside down. This is right side up, but you can see we do not have open cavities. There we go. Can you see that, Mr. Cameraman?
Not very well. So
Oh, it's not hardly leaking. That must have been stuff I spilled. But if it holds for 30 seconds, it's going to be good enough to hold air for a split second. So I'm comfortable with that. Remember, I know both of our intake valves were not holding well. This is holding well enough to make air. We'll get rid of that fuel. And we'll do the last one. So we're here at the other valve. Drop the new spring in, drop the new disc in, and spin her together.
I'm going to zoom in on this so we see that valve.
There's the valve plate, the valve disc, and went a little too far, so I turned it over. Oh, we're a little too far again. And there we go. It's that easy to put together. We'll turn it back up. We'll make sure the valve's not locked in place. And then we'll check it with our fuel. You got a good view of it there, camera guy?
Get your finger out. Wait, I lost my focus.
Oh, grasshopper, you must keep your focus.
I know. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm just in the window.
And we are holding very nicely. I'm surprised any of the fuel got in there with how shaky I was. Okay, let's go back to the compressor. We'll show you how to drop these in, how to do some valve adjustments, and you'll know what we're doing. So now that we're done with the discharge valves, we take our pins out, our bolts, and I'm going to leave my bolts right here. and hopefully they don't go back into scrap again. We open this up to catch these lugs on the intake or suction valve. And you saw that was only a little 1/4 inch stud holding the top to the bottom. So all we have to do is hook into that just a little bit tight. You don't want to break that stud. We hook into that just a little bit tight. Those valves are ready to go back in the machine. Let's go to the machine. Get the cord. Now, because I didn't drop that in a perfect place, I'll take our ring expanders, pick up on it, and there we go. That's ready to put the rest of the way together. Let's put the rest of them in. This is the intake on the low pressure side. This is the intake on the high pressure side. We'll drop it in. Let's see if I can hit it. Nope. There we go. Discharge and discharge. Friends, I'm going to show you how to put one of these together, and we're going to call it an episode because I'll show you two. But we're going to come right back and finish this up. Okay, so remember when we came apart, these springs were kind of nasty. They drop right down in there, 3 of them, one in each hole, and the pins were worn very badly and they were short, which will cause you unloader problems and starting problems. So this is getting new pins. Drop them right down in. And that's good. We've got a couple valve parts here, or a couple valve spacers to put in. So we have 2 different types of valves here. And we have this, which goes on a suction valve that doesn't have an unloader, or it goes on any of your intake valves. There's nothing except these go on the intake valves. So I'm going to put that there. Now we have an old crusty washer that is nice and heavy duty, and believe it or not, that's cleaned up. It just looks that bad. We put that on there, and I spent the night soaking after I sanded it. And this was in a very caustic environment. That goes down over that washer, and we can push down on that washer and feel the pins unload the intake valve. So let's get a couple of gaskets. We'll put these on and I'll show you how to adjust them, and we're going to call it a night. Now, we are very fortunate because I really don't like working with the graphene gaskets. These are old-fashioned fiber gaskets without asbestos. And that goes on there just like that. I'll put 4 bolts in it. Friends, remember, I backed the adjustment all the way back so that we couldn't possibly load this before we got our bolts torqued. So the valve plate's on, our parts are inside, the gasket's there. We're going to put our 4 bolts in on this valve cover. These bolts go to 50 foot-pound torque. We'll wind those down here in a minute. Remember the rule. It's okay to take a machine apart with an impact wrench, but it's never okay to put them together with one. So we're going to wind these down, and while I'm winding these down, we'll just do the same with the high pressure suction valve. If you remember, this adjustment would barely move in the valve cover. This isn't the same one. I got this off the used parts shelf. So I'll try to loosen it up later. It might be used again, or it might go in the scrap iron bucket. Eric, what'd you do today?
Just routine, you know, replace the motor.
Yeah, was it fun?
It was always fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, see, if I think of it as fun, then it's never work.
All right. You keep thinking that way, I might be able to pay you less. Use a crisscross pattern when tightening these valves down. My gear wrench, torque wrench. We're setting for 50 pound. And there's 50 pound. Whoop. Just check those one more time. Okay, now this adjustment goes to 60 pound. So I'm going to add 10 pound, and this goes down to 60 pound. There we go. All we have to do is, I'll get an open end wrench and we'll lock that down later. Now this adjustment also goes to 60 pound. So 50 on the bolts, 60 on the adjustment. Same here, 60 on the adjustment. And yes, folks, we're going to do an episode where we're going to build a couple specialty tools I use in this business. Uh-oh. And this is what's left of my tool, and we will do an episode. Uh-oh. We will do an episode where we're going to build a couple tools we need for working on Quincy's. Okay, that's it. Got my torque wrench. And this is preset at 60 pound. Okay, friends, that's how to test, inspect, and replace your valves in a 240, 325, 350. This is a 325. This compressor we're going to finish off screen because I got to hurry and get it ready. It goes out to a customer in 2 days. But we gave you enough information for you to be dangerous. We actually gave you enough information for you to test these yourself. And I'm going to finish this up off camera. Folks, thank you. God bless you. Have a great day. Like and subscribe. And if you need anything, we sell all these parts. And contact me through thecompressorguru.com. God bless. Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Compressor Guru. Please hit like and subscribe and use the notify bell so you will know when the next new episode is released from The Compressor Guru. God bless you and have a great day.